What's up guys, this is Charl talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be making a full review for the Romancing Festival Charl and Muse banner that brings Muse, a meta, defensive, buffer and healer for very hard challenges. She will be very useful for the time bank. And Charl, a damage dealer for long fights that can also be used for farming with pierce and heat damage. And Dream Eater, a character that will make you lose your sleep if you pull for him. That's right, he's very bad, but well, Muse is OP and I will be discussing why. Well, when you look on the status, you cannot see it because she only has 59 endurance. That's not really great, but mages usually only have that much. Her intelligence is just okay, her agility is just okay, just like Wield. But she has insane amounts of love and charisma. It's important because her love will allow her to heal better, and charisma will allow her to self-heal better as well. So, well, she is pretty defensive because of the passives. The first one, Energizing Guard. On the start of a turn, she has 25% chance to trigger 1 BP to the party, including herself, and also a defense boost that will decrease damage taken by 20%. That lasts for just that turn. So, if you think just about the BP gain, it's okay already. But the extra defense boost is just there because it's not reliable, but it will help anyway. The second one is called Goddess of the Children, when all allies are still surviving. Damage taken reduces by 20%. That's right, that's Kunrad. Something that we saw with Final Impress, remember? She was just really good because decreasing 20% at all times without having to use any skill was game-changing on release. From there we got many other characters with Scrum Guard as well, and we have characters like Tank Gustav, especially when using Let's Paint Inheritance to give attack boost, defense boost, guard up. He is awesome. There is another character that is also very good, that is Tsubaki, that she also has Scrum Guard and she decreases spell damage, can buff Wield. So these are the best examples. There is a new one as well that is Wield, but this guy here does not offer enough. The good thing is that, well, decreasing damage taken without having to cast a skill is really good. And the enemy cannot break this. The enemy can even break your buffs, but they cannot break this type of defensive capabilities. I mentioned that recently characters have been getting extra passives to protect themselves because damage is just scaling higher and higher, just like the creator fight, where it was just doing so much damage that we needed lots of defensive characters to survive. So Muse will allow you to survive even better by giving Scrum Guard, and like I said, she is a healer. We don't have any healer with Scrum Guard, and she is a buffer. We don't have any buffer with Scrum Guard, not the traditional ones at least. Let's move on. In the end of a turn, she will also recover 1 BP and HP by very small effect. Very small effect with Muse is just probably around 300 HP because of such a high love and charisma. Then we have Protective Healing. When attacked, damage will be reduced by 30% at all times, and in the end of a turn, she will recover HP as well. So she has 2 recovers, totalizing around 300 when fully maxed, and she will recover 1 BP for 4 BP per turn. Sometimes she will also trigger that defensive boost in an extra BP to the party, and we always have Scrum Guard active. So, look, 1 damage passive is always active. The other one as long as everyone is alive, and the third one is an RNG. So she is very defensive and will survive well while doing her job. Moving on, for skills we have the first, call it Aquart. This is a single target attack with E power that's not really strong, but it's free. And when the attack lands, she will try to reduce the enemy will. Well, this is nice because it's free and debuffing will increase your chance of debuffing with other characters and also magical damage. This could lead into some problems because some bosses will try to trigger the 5 weaknesses depending on how much you are debuffing them. So if you see that the boss is triggering the 5 weakness too much, maybe that's because of Aquart. So switch to a normal attack if you feel like it's better. Then the second skill is Noble Prayer. For 5 EP you have a support skill that will buff STR, Intelligence, Will, and Love by 30% on max level. It starts with only 20. You will have to manually level this up. So this is important and we need to stop here and discuss a lot. Well, this is very similar to a buff we got with Melissa Global Axis style. That is a very good style. She has damage block, she has 5 stacks of defense up and intrinsic, while still recovering in self-buffing. But her case is a little different. We should say that intelligence is the same for both, will is the same for both. Muse will buff love, while Melissa buffs charisma. It doesn't really matter because in the end both status are used for heals. And the difference is that Melissa will buff agility, while Muse will buff STR. Well, agility is used for accuracy of spells. It also half of the status that you need to buff the accuracy of martial arts units and spellcasters. Agility will also allow you to evade and attack first. So, if you are building up a mage squad, Melissa buff is better if it's just full mage, because you will go first, you increase your accuracy, but accuracy is not much of a problem anymore. So, if you are building a hybrid squad that uses STR based units together with intelligence based units, Muse is much better, because in the end you can still use martial artists here and with Melissa, but STR units that uses swords, great swords, clubs and spears will also be able to be used on the same squad and reach full potential. So you can still use both together if you want to just build mages, because intelligence is more important. Agility will also raise by Melissa, so you will not have to worry too much. And the thing is, they will buff will. That will increase your resistance to magical attacks and reduce the chance of being inflicted with debuffs and ailments. And it's usually better to buff Wield and endurance, right? You can buff endurance if you like by bringing Matriarch, because she was the first character to have access to 4 status buff with Paean of Victory. But look, she also buffs intelligence, but she also buffs agility like Melissa, but instead she buffs endurance instead of will. So let's say in a boss fight you are fighting against someone that has both physical and magical attacks. It's good to pair Matriarch with one instance of, let's say, Melissa if it's a full mage squad, or Muse if it has characters that use STR, because you'll be protecting versus physical and magical and using STR based units. If it's full mage, you have to bring Melissa. See how they just complement each other? Yes, because they buff different status. And Matriarch does not buff love or charisma with Paean of Victory. That was exclusive to her third style with Paean of Peace. Paean of Peace was very game changing, because buffing love and charisma allowed your healer to heal much more. In many instances, we only needed one healer. And that's what happens with Melissa and Muse as well, while she buffs different status and not dexterity. Dexterity is made for damage dealers like Leon and Chooser. So this changed how we build squads, because we can now build squads with STR or intelligence. And Muse will be more focused on the new STR based damage dealers that will need will to protect themselves. So very nice. And well, if you don't have the first Matriarch, or sometimes you think you can get more value out of all status buffers, any of these can be paired up with the other two very good ones. The first one is Witch's Daughter, because, well, she can give 3 BP to someone and increase OD gauge, and she buffs all status with only 8 BP, while also removing all the buffs applied to the party. And she buffs 2 times on overdrive for 40% buffs to all status. And she protects both types of squads, mage squads, STR based squads, and martial arts squads. So she can complement any. You can run 2 buffers in some squads, sometimes even 3 buffers. I use it many times, with Witch's Daughter being the third one. And, well, the other buffer that we have that could work is Narwhal's Daughter, because Narwhal's Daughter has Water Festival in her first style that buffs all status and gives 1 BP, while also applying defense boost. So, well, you don't need to have all of them. I'm just talking about the best approach, like perfect results if you want to take full advantage of all values. Okay, so now let's get back into Muse, because we need to discuss more about this. She is also a healer with Freud Fleuret, a 10 BP AoE attack that has 8 power. Well, you should not care about the damage. She doesn't have a single damage increase passive. but she will recover all surviving allies' HP by small effect. This had a limit usage on JP. Here in global, it doesn't have any limit. She can use it as much as she wants, as long as she has BP. But there comes a very big problem. Well, if she's buffing, she's using 5 BP, right? She gets 4 BP per turn, and sometimes get 1 extra, but only 25% of the time. She eventually runs out of BP and will have to stop 1 turn, just like old versions of Matriarch. The newest Matriarch has 5 BP per turn, and she never stops her buffs because of that. Remember? Because of Resolve of the Might. And that doesn't happen with Muse. She eventually runs out. And, well, you need to stop 2 turns from buffing in order to have enough BP to use Freud Fleuret. But the thing is, do you really need to use Freud Fleuret in a buffer build? You don't. This could be used as an emergency situation, but to be honest, this is here so that you can change the role of Muse drastically. She's not a buffer anymore. She can be your main healer. Let me explain. Well, you open the fight, you will not need to use this on turn 1. So you use a Quart, for example, and she will have 14 BP. And then on turn 2, you can actually heal if you need. Usually, bosses do lots of damage by turn 1. There is a big difference between Muse and the 2 best healers we have in the game right now. Well, the first best healer is still Polka. Polka, Chef Style, can inherit from Rag Robin, Steelblade Phoenix, a 9 BP skill, and Chef Polka uses 4 BP per turn. If he gets attacked, he can get even more. So sometimes, on the average of 2 turns, Polka can heal. But look on Polka Love, 62%. He is healing for around 1000 and something right now with his Steelblade Phoenix. I believe Muse will heal more than 1,200. That is without considering Love or Charisma buffs. So, if you don't have Polka, Polka needs 2 styles in order to perform the best scenario. You can just use Muse and forget about her buff role. Use someone like Melissa and Matriarch for buff, or even Nawal's or Witch's Daughter, just the combination of 2. And start using Freud Fleuret, forget about Noble Prayer. I have to explain that this is still a very good strategy, because she has Scrum Guard, like I said. She's increasing the damage taken for everyone, so she needs to heal less, and her heal will be stronger than Polka by having such a high glove. See? And she will heal on the average of 2.5 turns. Yeah, because she gets 4 and needs 10. See? So she can still be your only healer in the party. She is filling 2 different roles, hence why I'm saying that this character is OP tier in our tier list. And she's competing versus the best characters in the game, the best buffers and the best healer. The other healer that we have is the latest, Katarina. And, well, she's good, some people don't give her enough credit. The bad thing is that she needs intrinsic, so needs to be equipped with the right equipments to decrease damage taken. But she heals at least 2 times with Ice Impact, sometimes even 3 times, and can use this most of the time if she is well built. And then, on the average, she heals very close to Polka. That's right, very, very close to Polka. And she does not taunt the enemy. Polka taunts the enemy. And we have seen the release of a new style, that is So-cho. And I said that So-cho is a very good character because he enables some better cyclings for characters with high cost skills. And So-cho is a very good friend of Muse. Why? Well, So-cho taunts the enemies with this Man of Iron passive, and he stacks this 4 times. That means that when you bring him, you want him to be attacked to trigger that plus BP, so that he can use Let Me Handle, that gives 10 BP to the party. Well, Muse will love more BP if she wants to perform her 2 roles on the same time. But So-cho clashes with Polka because he's taunting the enemies, right? And Polka also taunts. He taunts with his Chef Style when using Steelblade Phoenix. Remember that it taunts? And if you are using Rag Robin itself, Rag Robin counters and taunts. So they clash. They will try to get the attention of the enemy on the same time. But Muse does not taunt the enemies when she's healing. She will not affect the enemy aggro. And that can be good, just like Katarina. Because now you can allow So-cho to just draw all enemy attacks to get those BP and use Let Me Handle to get 10 BP to everyone. For damage dealers, they will just keep using their best attacks. For people like Muse, she can use buffs, and in the moment you need to heal, use Muse. You don't need poke anymore in your party. See, of course it's better to have 2 buffers, because if Muse does not buff in that particular turn, someone else can take that moment to keep the buff going, so that you don't lose too much status by decay. So in the end, when you are summoning for Muse, you are summoning for 2 characters. Yeah, I know people will make memes about this, like when I said about Sarui. But that's true, because she can be your main healer, or your main buffer, or even both with the help of So-cho. So even though this banner has a lower value because of the banner companions, Muse stands out. She is a very good style. We summoned Matriarch many times in the past to make the full build, and Muse does not need inheritance. She comes ready to use the 2 roles on max potential. You can still inherit 3 good skills. From her A style, there is Water of Life, a 3 BP spell that will recover and also removes debuffs. And if someone dies, you need to revive as soon as possible to keep Scrum Guard. There's another heal with Revitalizing Water that can also be amplified to buff Endurance and BP. And from her past limited style, you have Aqua Constrict that will heal her HP by around 1,500 if you desperately need for just 5 BP. And Frozen Scene that can inflict Petrify, but none of this is really required. You can simply ignore, and she already has what you need for the best build. So Muse will receive the OP grade in our tier list, and now is one of the best characters. And I have to say that the investment may seem big, but the character itself performs like 2 different premium level characters. There's no future version of Muse, but you don't need. She will stay relevant for the foreseeable future. Muse will face competition with a future character from JP called Maria, that is probably 2 to 3 months away. And she is very useful by having Scrum Guard and also Dare to Hope. So she decreases 20% damage when everyone is alive, she dies, she recovers everyone, and she also has 1 damage reduction passive. And besides, she can buff, she can heal and apply evasion, but with different power levels for each of these things. I consider Muse to be better than Maria in global because of Scrum Guard, but they also can use it together when the time comes. Another future character that will pair up well with Muse is Razen, and this character is probably 5 months away, but there's something very good about Razen. He buffs all status passively to everyone, and he can apply attack and defense boosts, and can heal the party 2 times. So it's a character that can also perform many roles, but all his roles don't clash with Muse, they just complement each other. Hence why I said Muse has a good future. The next character is Charl, and he is a hybrid, using spears and spells with the fire element. Because of being hybrid, he takes a hit on status distribution. His STR is 115%, not the highest, and his intelligence is 110%, just good. His endurance is just 73%. For a physical damage dealer, this can lead into some problems, and his will is 84. Could be worse. Agility 90% is not a bad thing, and the remaining status won't matter too much for Charl. For passives, we have Heart of the Night 2. On the start of battle, you get 2 BP, and when landing weak attacks, recovers 2 BP. That is very important, and we're going to take advantage of it. The second, Silver Glove Owner. When attacking with spears, attack damage increases by 15%. Well, even when you are using spells, I guess it will still work. Then, when landing a weak attack, he has a 50% chance to chase with Glitter Shell. Glitter Shell is a very old and weak attack that was first seen in Matriarch 4, as you can see here, just E power and innate mod. That's much like a normal attack, but it gives guard up small, decreasing damage taken by 12% by 2 turns. Bad thing, that guard up doesn't stack, and the chase mechanic is more to recover that extra BP and give a little extra damage, but not to make him much stronger. Then on every 3 turns, that means 3, 6, 9, 12 and beyond, he will always chase in that particular turn when you are attacking with a single target attack. Remember that. With this attack called Round Slicer. Round Slicer is a 4S attack with pierce damage with high mod. This is a very strong attack that was also found on Matriarch, but her latest style. On JP it costs 12 BP, but in global it was changed to 10 to make Matriarch better, but now Charl is better because of it as well. We'll talk more about that later. And then he has Intrinsic Spear 4. He increases damage by 20%, and if he resists an attack, damage will be reduced by 40%, and he also has 37% chance to evade that attack. Well, 3 different effects. The bad thing is that you need to equip him accordingly and have plus 35 resistance to elements in order to trigger these effects. Well, 1 damage reduction passive at least, 35% damage increase, very good BP generation when recovering after weak attacks. And 2 different chases, one that happens every 3 turns and one that can happen 50% of the time. And when he chases with his Round Slicer, he may actually have 2 chances to trigger the Glitter Shell attack. I'm not entirely sure, but that may be the case. Then moving on for skills, we have Flame Thrust. This is a 7 VP skill with S Power and 39 mod. Well, it's not that great when you look on the mod, but when the attack lands, it triggers Guard Down Medium for 2 turns. That will decrease the defense of the enemy by 25%. On average, this will increase your final damage output by 10%, and everyone else from the party as well. You could use this before Overdrive, but because his nuke attack now is cheaper, I don't know. This may not be that great unless you do this just before Overdrive, and then on Overdrive you use Round Slicer, because this lasts for 2 turns, right? But this skill is not that important for Charl. Then the second skill is called Burning Descent. For 9 VP you have a full AoE spell that lands heat and pierce damage with D power and 11 mod. So first things first, you need to use a Fire Spear to take advantage of this rotation. You have SS Wagner's weapon. You can even apply a Weapon Master Stone to increase 60%. That will be enough for farming. And, well, he opens with this attack, and then he tries to debuff enemies' endurance by 30%. He will always debuff when farming, because his intelligence is pretty nice. Just some bosses that won't be debuffed easily. And then after attacking, he will use Erupting Flames. This is a C power physical attack, this time using his STR, and will do good damage because he just debuffed enemies' endurance. See, good thing, Burning Descent and Erupting Flames will be used on max level. We can compare Charl to another very good farmer in the game, that is Ice Cream Galahad. Well, Ice Cream Galahad has Icy Wind, and he chases with another Icy Wind, but on rank 1, that deals around 15% less damage. And it has C power, so the opener is stronger, but the follow-up is weaker. In the end, they will do very similar damage, with Charl probably doing a little less than Galahad, but still enough to solo farm some events, no matter the formation of the enemies, if they are in a row, if they are in a column, but not all the time. Charl will not be able to benefit from Remembrance Weapon, because, well, this is a spell-based attack, so he will benefit more when we get the Triple S weapon upgrade in the future. So you can upgrade Wagner's weapon to make it work for Charl. But it's very nice that he got this in global, so that, well, he works for both bossing and for farming. The last skill is Round Slicer, a 10 VP attack with pierce damage and 4S power. It's 84 mod, it's pretty high. And this one you can level up to 99. It will do much more damage than the follow-up because that one is locked on rank 1. So when attacking versus bosses, you can go and inherit this sweep attack, amplify that to become 0. You can open the fight with sweep, use it on turn 1 and then on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you use Round Slicer, and then you can use it again on turn 4, for example. If you reach Overdrive turn, you will always want to use Round Slicer. Or like I said, just before you want to nuke a boss, you can also use Flame Thrust, just to apply that guard down. Well, some may say that Charl is not that strong, because the Glitter Shell chase is weak, and Round Slicer only triggers once every 3 turns, right? But what about his average damage? Well, we could compare Charl in some ways to the latest Gwen. That is a very strong damage dealer. But Gwen is much better defensively because of Dragon Switch. That, well, just gives him defense boost so that he survives better. But his chase mechanic is a 50% chance to trigger. This one here has double S power and 55 mod. The fact that remains is that 50% chance. In 3 turns, well, you will get 1.5 usage of this, right? 55 mod attack. Well, if you use this 2 times, you get a similar damage to Charl. Round Slicer. That's right. We're not considering the Dragon Switch passives. And then Charl still has that Glitter Shell, because he needs to get something extra in order to compensate not being able to self-buff. And when Charl is attacking and he gets the Glitter Shell, he will recover 7 BP, because 3 BP by the end of a turn, then 5 BP by attacking a weak target, 7 BP because of the first chase. If he is on turn 3 and he is using Round Slicer, for example, and he chases with a second Round Slicer and then chases again with Glitter Shell, he will recover 9 BP, allowing him to use another Round Slicer again on the next turn. See that he actually has a good rotation on average. It just may take time to build up and see the damage potential, since he only deals lots by turn 3. But interesting enough, Charl is good. I just cannot say that he's better than Chooser, because Chooser, old style, is still insane. He buffs all status, he has a very high chance to heal, has defense capabilities, and Claw Ability Action just used lots of damage. But right now, Charl is the second best pierce damage dealer, and he beats Darke. But Darke is still good because he can apply defense down. There is this aspect of the character, but overall, if you account for 10 turns, your Charl will do more damage than Darke. That's, well, good enough for a character that is on a banner that already has Muse. Charl does not need inheritance. Well, you can think about that sweep, but he becomes a counter strategist by inheriting Windmill from the Tower style that I still don't have. Well, Windmill Plus is an evasive counter stance with double S power in 53 mod. That's actually pretty good. And because he evades and counters, every time he counters and the enemy is weak to pierce, he will recover 2 BP. So, depending on the number of attacks the enemy has, he will just keep using Windmill till he kills the target. It's a very nice setup, if you get this Tower version, that is. With all that said, Charl is very strong. I cannot say that he's as strong as Gwen, comes close, or as Arthur, or as Silver. It's just not defensively enough. It's just doesn't self-heal like many of our other better damage dealers, but being capable of working for Remembrance, farming, and some boss fights allows him a good placement in their tier list as an SS plus grade. And just like Muse, there is no future version of Charl, so he is what you see, but, well, he'll work for quite some time. But we'll get better damage dealers in no much time. It's just that we didn't get so many spear-based damage dealers recently, so he will work for many people. The last character is Dream Eater, and he's not related to Azura, although they share the same sprite. He's green, Azura is red, so you cannot inherit anything. This character doesn't have any future style, and he is just this. Well, he has a mixed build with similar values for Endurance, Will, Agility, Intelligence, and STR. He doesn't have any value very high, just average for everything. Then for passives we have Exhaustion 1, Will. When landing an attack, he will always debuff Will by 5%, and he also self-recovers VP by 1. This is a passive found in Red Mage. You can see it here, yes. And then the second one is called Sleep Practice 2. When landing an attack, he has a 37% chance to apply Sleep that will last for 4 turns. But once you attack a target that was inflicted with Sleep, it will awaken, so you need to reapply. But he can do that with active skills as well. And when he lands an attack, he also has a 37% chance to trigger 2 BP. Then the third passive is called Strengthened Assault 2, increasing his damage by 20% and starting the battle with 12 BP. Now, skill number 1 is called Hypno Mist, a full AoE attack with deep power, blunt damage, and costs only 3 BP. That means he can use it anytime. It has a chance to debuff Will by 15% on max level. Align it with that extra 5 BP from Exhaustion, you'll be debuffing 20%. But there's a chance that he may fail when using this against some bosses if they have very high Will. You need to debuff Will first. And then he has a chance to apply Sleep to all targets. Low chance, lasts for 4 turns. But if you attack an enemy that has been inflicted with sleep, it will awaken and you need to reapply sleep. But since you can keep using this, it works. The problem is, where can we apply sleep? Bosses are always immune to all ailments, and we don't have any tower events anymore where we could actually take advantage of this. So there's that. Then the second skill is Punishing Fist Plus, a 6 VP full AoE attack with B power and 25 mod. This is an amplify for this skill that you find in Red and many other martial artists. It's a nice skill when used with damage dealers, not with Dream Eater. They needed to give him something with effects because he's not here for damage. That's a waste. Then the third one is called Abyss Invitation. For 12 VP, you have a full AoE attack with blunt and shadow damage, A power. Okay, and before attacking, he will debuff Wield by 30%. It's a guarantee. And then he will launch this attack that will try to apply sleep with a high chance that lasts for 4 turns. So you can open the fight with this because it will guarantee that Wield debuff. And then when the attack lands, you will debuff another 5% because of that exhausting Wield. And after that, the enemy will have lower Wield, and you can use Hypnomist because now you can keep debuffing. See, that is if the enemy does not use Defy Weakness. That is if the enemy can be inflicted with sleep. And those situations are extremely rare. That's why it's not that interesting. We don't have any Remembrance battle that uses sleep, not even on JP. And as a Wield debuffer, he has competition with Halloween Arsenal that has this attack called Toxic Ghost Blaster that's just insane. He debuffs Wield 4 times with random attacks by a total of 60% debuff. If there's just one target, that would be 60% on that target. But Dream Eater is better when you have multiple enemies that you need to apply Wield debuff. That's even rarer than just one enemy. So best AoE debuffer, but just doesn't have a place to be used. I still prefer Arsenal, to be honest. But there's nothing else to say about Dream Eater. He's just terrible because where he tries to be a specialist, he does not work because there's no content to use. So Dream Eater will only receive an S grade. That's right. He's terrible, and I don't know if I will ever use this guy even if I get him. Now, is this banner worth summoning for? Yes! It got close to a gold award, but I will leave it with a silver plus. I have to say it again, Muse has the performance of 2 premium styles. She works as the best buffer in many scenarios and can work at least as a competitor for Polka, but she can even beat Polka by giving Strong Guard to the party while being a healer. And she gives Strong Guard to the party while being a buffer, making her better than Matriarch and Melissa most of the time. She's a superior version, so without need of inheritance even. That's why she's such a good investment. Charl is much better than people think. He can work on similar levels to Galahad when farming, and can actually do some damage for Remembrance or boss situations that you need Pierce. And Dream Eater is just terrible. That's why the banner didn't receive such a high award. Could be even better if Dream Eater could be used somewhere, because he's just here to decrease the value of the banner and allow you to get him before you can get Muse or Charl. But I still recommend to stop on Muse if you get her pretty fast. Only PT Charl if you are around 12,000 medals, because on that price point I think he may be good enough to give you some resources if you are in need of Pierce or if you want another farmer. But that's my opinion. I will try to pull for Muse, but I don't have gens now. We'll see about the future. But what do you think about this all? Please see here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this. Please subscribe if you still haven't, and if you want to support the channel, please use the links in the description. We really need your help to keep the channel alive. Hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.